Hi, everybody. I'm Ronnie.
Hi, and I'm Jenny. And we are.
We are the Heart and Soul Sisters.
You got it.
And yeah, it's good to see you today.
Oh, it's so good to see you. It feels like forever it's been a couple weeks since we got
Yes, yes,
together.
because
So,
you had some fun
yeah,
with your grandkids, so we
I
haven't had a chance to get
did.
together and
Oh my,
podcast. Good for you.
yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited
Me
for you. That's great.
too.
So today we actually want to do a deeper dive into something that we raised last time on our second, like the more on intuition and healing, because what we've been discovering more recently is that there's just a lot of spiritual healing that needs to take place, right? I mean, in
My
our
gosh, yes.
early part of our recovery, we were processing through the thoughts and the emotions, and we're going to talk about the body. We're going to move on to talk about the body after this week and our experience with yoga and so on. But the spiritual healing has been such an important. It's been a through line, but we hadn't really noticed that early on. I think it wasn't until we started with the Reiki that we realized the deeper layers or levels or the spiritual
Yes,
dimension
layers.
that really needed more attention.
Right.
And so we last time we talked about the our animal communication, that our exploration led us to Danielle McKinnon and animal communication,
Yes.
and then from there she started a new
Whoa.
program. We were literally the guinea pigs, right? She's like, there's this thing I do, and I want to teach people
The
how to do
beta
it,
class.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and who wants to come along and play with me while I figure out how I'm going to teach this to people,
Like,
and
me.
yeah, so you're right, yeah, sign me up. So yeah, so we are just actually finishing this now. By the
Yes.
time this airs, we'll probably be done,
And
and it's
certified.
and
Woohoo!
certified. Yeah, so ready to offer this to other people. But we wanted to share what the experience has been like for us
Yeah.
to go through it. So I don't know if you want to hop in and
Oh my gosh.
start and
Yeah. So the surprising thing about the animal communication, and I feel like I repeat myself, so if I'm saying some of the similar things I said in our last podcast, sorry. That's I have a little bit of a Dory brain. So anyway, yeah, we the huge surprising thing about it is, I've always loved animals. I've loved and felt deeply connected to animals and to the earth and living, trees and being in the woods. All of that feeds my soul. But what the surprising thing about the animal communication work we did for over a year was the spiritual healing that occurs with working with the animals and the lessons that they're helping us to learn. And
right.
so the soul level coaching makes total sense because you're basically calling in your soul guides, which, we all have guardian angels and soul guides that help us navigate our life plan.
Right.
Whether you are aware of them or you talk to them or you're connected with them or not, they're there. And so this is working more closely, learning how to call in your soul guides, how to connect with them, how to hear or feel their guidance, their presence, and the soul level coaching that we have been doing with our classmates, with each other, um, has been taking us to, oh my gosh, such
Yeah.
deeper levels of healing spiritually.
Right.
And it's affecting, and the amazing things are all the that I've found are all the energy shifts that have been going on as I've been discovering what what of the four negative beliefs. We're all working on them, and the negative
Right.
beliefs are limiting beliefs, if you want to call them, are not feeling lovable, not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, and not feeling safe, supported, and protected. And we're all working on these lessons, or we wouldn't be incarnating in human
Right.
form. It's
Right.
not a big secret. It's something we're all working on. And so the soul guides are helping us to focus on what they think are our biggest stumbling blocks, or
Right.
and what we're ready to work on, what we're ready to address.
Right.
And so we have all these workarounds, all these coping skills, whatever you want to call them, that we learn early in life as we start to stumble across these limiting beliefs, these negative beliefs. And these workarounds are ways that help us to avoid feeling that pain
Right.
of not feeling lovable, not feeling good
Right.
enough, not
Because
feeling worthy.
nobody wants to feel those things.
Nobody wants to feel those pain. Yeah,
Right.
those pains. And so the soul level coaching with the guide's help is helping to kind of lift the veil of denial, really,
Yeah.
of or being unaware.
Right. I was going to say
And
it raises awareness about
it raises awareness. Yeah.
not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it, which can be a
Mhm.
surprise. Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It was for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, I think I've shared this before that, struggle with perfectionism my
Yep.
entire life in some ridiculously small crazy ways and then
Yep.
large crazy ways. And the information that comes in from the guides, like when you were talking, I was thinking that this connects with what we were talking the last couple of weeks with intuition. Like some of us, when we feel like, oh, maybe I should try this, or maybe like you get this little gut feeling, or somehow you get this idea you should do something or not do something. That's wisdom coming in from the guides trying to guide you, right? Trying to help
And
you.
your higher self.
And your
Yeah.
higher self, right? Knowing what is in your highest and greatest good, being attuned to that. So the whole perfectionism thing, I always thought was trying to prove I was good enough, right? That it was like I didn't feel like I was good enough, and so that if I was perfect, I would be good enough. I was been very aware of the perfectionism. I've been trying to work on it for a long period of time. Made a lot
Mhm.
of progress. I mean, you've been with me the whole time. You know, I'm not the same person now I was in my 20s, for example.
Yeah. Thank God neither one of us are.
Right, exactly. Thank God for growth. But
Yeah.
but in working with one of our classmates very early on in this process, um, she was kind of connecting in and getting guided information, and she said that oh, these behaviors are connected to feeling safe, supported, and protected. That's the you want to feel safe, and that's why you do these things. And it was like I was hit between the eyes with a baseball bat. It's like, of course. Of
Yeah.
course, when you're going to
Uh-huh.
be whipped with a belt for doing the smallest things wrong, yes, being
Yeah.
perfect becomes a matter of self preservation. And
Survival. Yeah.
just that little teeny piece of information was just exploded everything for me, right? I started to see lots of things in my life differently. Like,
Yes.
I do this not because I need to be seen as perfect and therefore good enough, but to feel safe.
Yeah.
And
We both had
just
that.
having the awareness of it causes a shift. That was the other mind-blowing thing about this, is that I didn't really have to try to do anything differently. It was just knowing that that was the motivation behind it caused me to see
Right.
things differently and to be able to around
Right.
it.
Right.
Relax around it, you know. That to me has been the really freeing thing about this.
Yeah.
It
And that's
just, yeah, it's been amazing.
it is amazing. And it's probably easier for us in the beginning to see the really huge workarounds.
Mm-hmm.
The um but but kind of teasing it out and going to the smaller and the smaller and the smaller and the smaller, that's connected to
Mm-hmm.
the safe, supported, protected. It's
Right.
like I mean, one that I laugh at now because I don't do it anymore, and not from conscious choice so much, but just it's I realize, oh, I quit doing that,
Mm-hmm.
which is when I would get in my car. We lived in Nashville for 23 years, and I felt very because that's when kind of everything started falling apart and coming, to a head with our parents and brother.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I would, as soon as I got in our vehicle, I would make sure all the doors were locked wherever I was, in my driveway, in my wherever I was. I had to lock the doors immediately. And I realized it's because that was a big one connected to not feeling safe, supported, and protected.
Yeah.
And it's it seems kind of silly maybe now.
Mm-hmm.
We live in the middle of nowhere, but I was still doing it.
Yeah, there is nobody around you.
there's there's no reason to
Nobody.
do that. There's no reason to do that. And so when I went through beta class, last winter, I was laughing when I realized, oh my gosh, I'm still doing that. It's like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this?
Yeah.
So it's really such an eye-opening experience to go through this soul level coaching, working with our guides, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm still finding workarounds
Oh yeah,
related
yeah.
to,
It's going to be a lifelong
not,
process.
yeah, not feeling good enough or not feeling, lovable, and yeah, but it's now when I find one, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I
Well,
laugh.
yeah.
It's like being a little kid. That energy shift. I mean, in the beginning, when we first started doing the work with our classmates, I looked at myself. I mean, we were all kind of shell shocked because we were going
Yes.
so deep so fast,
Right.
and it was mind blowing. And we had moments of feeling like I'm such a mess.
I'm one giant workaround
I am one big hot
distraction.
mess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just nothing but a
I thought I was
conglomeration
getting
of
better.
workarounds. Yeah. I know. I thought I made so much spiritual progress, but I'm not
Yes,
feeling
yes,
that way
yes,
now,
yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
and so that was, I think that's normal to some extent for people who are really spiritually wide open and ready for the next level of healing.
Right.
I
Right.
and and in working with some of our clients, there's been some of my clients, there's been a little bit of that, maybe not as deep
Mm-hmm.
um, as we felt when we were first doing our work with some of our partners
Right.
in class. But I think we all get to a point of crazy town where every time you turn around, you're like, I have scissors in every room. That's another workaround. Everything's got to be cut nice and straight and with no jagged edges, and so the bag doesn't fall apart or whatever. And it
Right.
and you start seeing that your whole life is full of these little coping mechanisms.
Right. Right.
Um, and it's so amazing when you are start to be more and more aware, and then you realize that some of these workarounds are simply dissolving and going away on their own,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
and you feel a lightness. It's truly a shift in energy around, for me, around the heart. um, and the funny thing is, with it, all of this has kind of come together with, I know I've talked before on some of our other podcasts and things about the Wild Fit program that
Mm-hmm.
I became involved
Right.
with Drew, and the releasing of this excess weight, and entering into um, more mindfulness of taking care of my body. Um, and so it really is amazing how for me, how the soul level coaching has really, I feel like, orchestrated all
Oh
of
God. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
huge shift in me of, and I know that there is still more evolving and releasing that is going on. And I feel it as we've been doing this work, working with our clients for our
Mm-hmm.
certification.
Right.
It's funny because the soul guides will bring up in my clients, what some of the same workarounds, some of the same lessons that I'm currently working on.
Right.
And so
There's a lot of synchronicity there.
there's so much synchronicity going on, and there's so much healing going on for my client, but also for me.
Right.
It's such an amazing, it's like the gift that keeps on giving is what it
Right.
feels like.
Right.
And only now I'm not feeling that initial overwhelm that we kind of went through for a couple weeks,
Yeah.
when we were first experiencing it.
Right.
Um, I'm not noticing that oh my gosh feeling of, how am I ever going to be normal?
Right.
or how
Right. It did. It
or how
actually
am I
did. It did stir up some of those feelings when we talked about the very beginning of our recovery process.
Yeah,
Decades ago. Like, oh my
yeah,
God, I'm such a mess.
yeah,
It did. It did. Because you mentioned the scissors. I have that same
I
sort of
know.
coping workaround thing too. Actually, and again, it's related to being safe, supported, and protected. Not only do I have scissors everywhere, I have little cheater glasses everywhere.
Yes,
I have chapstick
in
everywhere.
every
Like,
room.
like I'm afraid I'm not going to have it when I need it, you know. So I have these, but the scissors are a huge hot button issue for me. So these things, so for people who aren't familiar with this work, these little coping skills or workarounds, or to avoid feeling these uncomfortable emotions. um, we haven't really explained the process. Like usually early on something happens to us, and it's not necessarily, doesn't have to be a traumatic event, but just something that calls up this feeling like, oh, I'm not worthy, or oh, I'm not safe for whatever reason. And so, because
Not
as you
lovable.
said, we don't want to feel that, we develop some coping mechanism, or the system we learn calls it a workaround, so we don't have to feel that. So we engage in these behaviors, and some of them are small. They're not like, if we're not able to do them, it's not that big a deal, right? It won't sort of mess with us. But some of them are huge. Like if we can't do it, if we can't engage in this behavior for some reason, we're prevented from doing it, we get seriously emotionally upset. And
Anxious,
and anxious, right?
angry.
And the thing itself can be very small, but it can still have a big emotional impact. And I'm saying all this as a lead up to the scissors in my house. And in particular, the scissors in my kitchen, which are the ones I use the most. And so when I was going through this process, the classmates I was working with who were coaching me were saying, well, you've got some anger that you're not really allowing yourself to have. And I'm like, I'm not an angry person. I had a lot of anger as a younger person. I used to use my anger to control people, much like our dad in particular did.
Yes.
But
Some
I'm
do.
not. I've developed such great patience over the years.
Right.
I'm not an angry person. I don't get angry, or if I do, it doesn't last. Like it just didn't ring true to me. Like, you've
Yeah.
got some anger that you're really not expressing. I'm like,
That you're stuffing
nah,
down, or you're,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm not really
trying
getting
to
that.
avoid.
So as we're going through this, I go to my kitchen drawer for my scissors, and they're not there. And I just go through the roof if the scissors are not in the kitchen drawer. And now you only have one child, and she's been out of the house for more than a decade. And so now my poor husband, I always blame him if the scissors are not in the drawer, because I'm actually quite meticulous about putting things away. You know that about me. So it's not that
OCD
I'm
about it.
and
I am too.
I'm not,
Well, kind
I'm
of.
not
I am.
diagnosable. I'm not diagnosable, but I recognize I have some OCD tendencies. Again, much
Yeah.
less than in the past. But anyhow, so it occurred to me, oh yeah, that is something that will take me straight to red hot number 10 angry if my scissors
Yeah.
are not in the drawer. And so as I'm going through this process, going through the weeks and months that we're working on this, I kept noticing that particular thing. Like that is a workaround. That is a coping thing for me. Like that is like it is a small thing. My scissors are not in the drawer, but makes me furious. And so I noticed over time. So I'm just noticing this, right? I'm not trying to do anything different about it. I'm just noticing that this is a hot button issue for me.
Yeah.
And I go there one time and the scissors are not in the drawer. And now, frankly, I don't have to go that far to find another pair of scissors because, as I said, they're all over my house. But I'm
Yep.
just upset that I have to do that, that I don't have what I need. That's what the thing is, right? I'm not supported. I don't have what I need in the moment. So as we're going through this process, the scissors are not in the drawer. I'm mad at my husband. He's not there to defend himself. I can't accuse him, but I'm mad at him for not putting the scissors back. And later that day, I go out into the garage to get something, and I see, oh, there are the scissors. And it occurs to me, oh, right, I took the scissors out there to do something, and I left them there. And
Oh.
I went, oh, my poor husband. And how many times have I falsely accused him when it was really me who left it out there? So then fast forward another few weeks, maybe a month or so, and I'm still cognizant of the scissors, and are the scissors in the drawer, are they not in the drawer, etc. And one day I go to get the scissors, and I had my hand on the drawer pull, and I said, what am I going to do if the scissors are not in the drawer? Right? I had this awareness before I opened it up.
Yeah.
And I opened the drawer, and the scissors were gone. And I just burst out laughing. I just burst out laughing that I thought about it and they weren't
That's
there.
awesome.
And it went from being this surest way to get me angry in 1 second flat
Yep.
to recognizing my own faults, whatever contribution to the issue, to it being something I just laugh about. And I laughed all the way into the dining room, which is the next room over, where there's a drawer that has another pair of scissors, and I opened it, I got the scissors, and I used them. But I'm sharing this because that's really what this work is. Like this,
Yes.
the soul level coaching is: am I just willing to hear some information and notice it as I go about my
Exactly.
day moving forward? And just that, I didn't try to do anything differently. I didn't say, okay, I don't need to have scissors everywhere, and I took them away and, made myself white knuckle through without scissors in every room. It just, it's the most amazing spiritual release, really.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
having
And
that
the
insight, having that information. Easier
and
than
you
any
notice,
therapy I ever did, or,
yes.
just amazing.
And you notice those areas in your life where you have tension, and it can be tension, like you said, like going to the drawer and not finding the scissors. However you want to, whatever words you want to attach to it, tension, anger, or those areas in your relationships where you're having tension, your hot buttons.
Right.
Um, those are, that's your clue that there's a workaround going on.
Yeah.
There's a workaround that's limited, that's linked to a limiting or negative belief, and you're being triggered.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I'll tell you, doing this work on ourselves that we've
Yeah.
done pretty extensively over the last, what, 5 months? How long have we been doing this?
6 months,
By six
7 months at this
six
point,
months,
probably. Yeah.
6 7 months we've been doing this work on ourselves, quite intensely. I will add at times, um, has been so rewarding, because like you said, a lot of those little triggers throughout your day, throughout your life. For me, the toothpaste tube, there's another one. It would be a trigger, and I won't go into all the details of that, but how the towels are folded on the shelf, I mean,
Right.
it's
Right.
crazy, but
Yes.
it's funny how those things that used to make me go, no longer do that.
Yeah.
I laugh at them now, and I'm like, and I choose whether I want to do anything about the way my sweet husband folded the towels or not.
Thank God he
I
folded
mean,
them,
listen,
right?
thank God he washed them, he dried them, he folded them, right? Yay, you're marvelous. Okay, so they don't all match and they don't all look the way I want them to. Okay, fine. you know,
Right.
it's okay.
Right. Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
and it's great because I'm free of
Yes.
those moments of
Yes.
anger,
Yes.
tension, irritability, whatever you want to call it. It's like, and now I'm laughing about it. It's like the guides told me to tell one of my clients recently. They said, look at you as a little girl. And because these, there are episodes, when the limiting beliefs kind of were triggered, and they're
Mm-hmm.
usually they can be when we're an infant, and
Yeah.
maybe our mother was depressed, struggling with postpartum depression, and
Right.
it affected us as an infant, or a parent was struggling with depression when we were little, and
Mm-hmm.
it caused us to feel not worthy or not lovable, because of their inability to fully be emotionally present for us
Right.
in a moment we needed them.
Right.
So it's not necessarily traumatizing abuse, but that also, of
Right.
course, affects,
Right.
majorly triggers limiting beliefs. But it can be simple things that occur even in a very loving home, that starts triggering these limiting beliefs. And so anyway, so the soul guides, when I was working with one client recently, told them, go back to when you were a little girl, and they specifically told me age 3, and they saw her, doing Easter egg hunt, and they said, find that inner joy of that little girl, that beautiful little girl, and finding those Easter eggs and opening up to find the surprise inside. And they said, and that's what this is. Try to find the fun in finding those workarounds, all those little Easter eggs, and opening up to find the little surprise. And it's just amazing the shifts that occurred for her, um, just in that. And so I've adopted that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to look for my own little Easter eggs, because
Right,
there's
right,
more. There's so much more, right?
right.
And so it's amazing how much has shifted in the last 6 months for me energetically, and I'm still finding more workarounds,
Oh yeah.
and
There's
I'm
no
and I'm
shortage.
and there's no
There's no
short yeah, there's no shortage. But I'm no longer feeling like a hot mess.
right. That
I'm
didn't last too
laughing at
long.
it.
Thankfully, that
No,
didn't last too
thankfully.
long.
That
Yeah,
lasted for like 1, maybe 2 weeks at
yeah,
tops. But
right.
we were, as I said, this was a really spiritually open, heart open, intense group of
Group.
beautiful people that we're
Yeah,
working with.
yeah,
And so we were safe. We felt totally safe to go
yeah,
really deep, really fast.
right.
And so now we're at a point of, as I'm doing this work with my clients, of, yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, when we're finding a new workaround, the guides are leading us to help her or him go through and find a new workaround. It's funny because I always think of Easter egg. That's a workaround for me too. Oh my gosh. And so it's funny, and there's a lot of laughter and joy in involved in doing this work. There's sometimes some tears,
yeah,
because it touches us on such a deep level in the heart.
yeah,
But it's so, wow, what a gift to be doing this soul level coaching and this intuitive coaching, working with our
yeah,
guides. I am so incredibly grateful to Danielle McKinnon for bringing this forward and for guiding us so lovingly and in such a beautiful way to helping us work with it. I'm
yeah.
blown away.
Well,
And
you know,
and
I completely agree. I completely agree with all that you just said. But I have to hop in. We keep saying doing this work. That's kind of the phraseology we've been using. But
yeah,
it's not the work. The work part is the willingness to open your heart to it and to open your
yes,
eyes, to pay attention to what's happening in your life. That's the work, right?
that's the work.
And
It's
being
not
able to
hard.
and to be able to tolerate the discomfort, right? If you like you notice it or something happens and there's the emotion that comes up with, oh my God, like we were talking
Yeah,
about being triggered because something happened, like my scissors are not in my drawer. Okay, well let me sit with that for a second and say, oh, what is that about? Right? What is that? But it's
exactly.
just really just noticing it and
Yeah.
sitting with it and being open. That's how hard it is, right? That's all it really
It's
requires.
not hard, exactly. It's not hard. And it's amazing how quickly. I mean, like within a day, a few days, a week, you go from being totally triggered by some, like, your husband making a meal and making a mess of the kitchen to, um oh my gosh, isn't this wonderful? He's making a meal,
Right.
and I don't have to. And I
right.
mean, it literally can shift that, all that emotionally energy charged interaction to, it changes your perspective. It just totally changes your perspective,
Right.
and the energy all around that whole situation shifts,
Yep.
and you're like, isn't this great? you
Or
know,
isn't this funny?
isn't this
Or
funny? Yeah.
isn't this ridiculous? You know?
Yeah, and it really does start to release all this stuff that you used to feel like you had to hang on to and control, or you had to, um, try to manipulate or work around to make it, you know what I
Or
mean, to make it
or
go your way.
right. Or it just caused you pain. Or it
Exactly.
just caused you pain. And
Yeah.
not even didn't even know why. Like I had no idea why I got so angry about the scissors. It's like what, and I did sometimes feel like there was something wrong with me that I would get so mad about this. But I would get all righteous justification. How hard is it to put something back where you found it? Come on,
I have said that
that.
so many times. Oh my gosh. Yes. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
So, but the flip side, how hard is it for this not to be a big deal for you? Well, it was very
Exactly.
hard until recently, until I realized what it was about. It's a freedom.
Yeah,
It's a release. You
it
know,
is. It's a
it
total
really
release.
is. So I have to say, I'm really excited that we have been working with some clients as part of the certification process, as you said. But I'm really excited start sharing this with other people, because I think that people will be surprised at how their lives can change
Oh my
being
God.
open to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
It's a gift. It's a gift you give to yourself.
yeah,
And it really is and once like I said, once you start looking and you have that awareness of watching for those patterns, it truly is the gift that keeps on giving. You can do it on your once you have a little bit of guidance with the guides and all that, then you realize, oh my gosh, you can really do this on your own, and it's
yeah, yeah,
what an amazing game changer
yeah,
for your quality of life and for your living life from a place of joy and bliss instead of tension.
right, right.
Yeah, it really is beautiful.
And I am grateful to be doing it with you as always. Right? We share these adventures. That's part of the real joy for me too.
It is. It's so awesome having you to share all this with and be on this adventure. I mean, Matt is wonderful. My husband is he's great about listening to what I'm doing, but he's not um, in the same place. He's not interested in some of the same things I am.
My husband's the same way, you know. He's very supportive. We've talked about him before. Listening is always good if we give him a margarita before we tell him what our next adventure is going to be first.
Yeah.
But yeah, very supportive. But it's not, it's not something he would do with me. And so I'm excited to have you to do these things with.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, it's been great to talk about this, because it's something that we're, up to our chest
Super
in at this
passionate.
point.
Super
Yes,
passionate
yeah.
about. Yes.
Really,
Oh my
really, really
gosh.
been
Love,
a
love,
great
love this.
experience for us. So,
Yeah.
so thanks for listening, everyone. And
Yeah.
if you haven't already, take a look at us on Facebook. We're The Heart and Soul Sisters. And our Instagram handles also at The Heart and Soul Sisters. We do have a website, www.heartandsoulsisters.net. You can see some pictures of us growing up through the years there. Also, links to audio versions of our podcasts. We throw extra videos up on Facebook, and we have a YouTube channel. So if you're watching the video version of this, likely you found us on the YouTube channel. But those are all the ways you can find us. And if you're looking at us on video, you'll see that at the end here as we wrap up. But good to have you all with us this week. And until next time, we are wishing you
Wish you
much love, much
so much
light,
love and light and many, many blessings.
many, many blessings. Take
Yes.
care.
Bye bye.